Maya Angelou once said, human beings are more alike than we are unalike. And the minute we begin to understand that, just the slightest part of that, we recognize ourselves as family. December calls for something cozy, a warm fire, a good book, a mug of hot chocolate or mulled wine, maybe, and a story about all our lives. I'm Chaani Srivastava, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today on the Lock, Stock and Barrel podcast. My multi-hyphenate existence is kind of the leitmotif of the LTB podcast. You'll see glimpses of it all over the space as we progress on this journey together. And today's episode is a leaf from my journal of personal experiences. A few days ago, at my beloved Prithvi Theatre in Bombay, I happened to witness a mesmerizing theatre performance by Nasiruddin Shah, a veteran artist and a brilliant Indian actor, in Gabriel Emanuel's English language rendition of Einstein. The play revolved around revealing the man behind the genius that Albert Einstein was. It was surreal because it was a tender depiction of how his life, like all of ours, was filled with his fair share of doubts, disappointments, failures, and lessons. The play left me thinking about him, his worldview, and how he, a man of physics, dealt with the deep philosophical and existential questions of life. And as I do with everything that piques my interest, especially when I get consumed with a play or a movie or a TV series, I went into a rabbit hole down Google, wanting to know more about Einstein and his life. My search led me to an extensive piece of research by Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which I'll include in the show notes below, just in case you're interested to know more, that revealed that Einstein's education and early career actually involved a deep engagement with philosophy, in particularly the philosophy of science. Operating on the intersection of seemingly incongruous fields in my professional and in my personal life, I was obviously gobsmacked and overjoyed to learn that it was this very interdisciplinary background that allowed Einstein to think critically about the fundamental nature of reality, as well as evaluate the limitations of existing scientific theories. Honestly, I wish I understood relativity as well as I do today when I watch movies like Interstellar and Oppenheimer, as compared to how little my understanding of that concept was as I sat for my daunting 11th grade physics exam. Today, I understand what a genius like Einstein possessed to revolutionize our understanding of space, time, gravity, and the nature of reality itself. As I came out of my rabbit hole, a pattern started coming to focus from his life story that made me want to discuss it here. I believe that Albert Einstein held the key to all that is possible in the world with a unique combination of three extremely buildable characteristics. A combination that all of us can build to achieve immaculate things in our own lives. A combination of scientific rigor, philosophical depth, and intuitive insight. Which brings me to the topic for today's explainer, inspired heavily by these three characteristics and how we can see their glimpses in all our lives. The one concept that links everything to everything else. Let's talk about interconnectedness. As I delve deeper into Einstein's world, I'm struck by the profound interconnectedness of his life and work. This brilliant mind wasn't just a theoretical philosopher-physicist, as they fondly called him, but also a musician and a passionate advocate for peace. As someone with a wide range of interests in arts and in sciences, I've found myself straddling different worlds at different times, from the creative to the analytical, the practical to the philosophical. It's through switching between these diverse experiences that I've come to appreciate the beauty and the power of interconnectedness. I was born and raised in a family of educationists in the city of lakes, Udaipur, in the state of Rajasthan in India. My city is a paradoxical city. While being one of the world's most luxurious travel destinations, an oasis of art and culture, it is still a city with one of the lowest literacy rates in the country, with major disparity between male and female children. But I was so fortunate that I never felt that disparity while growing up, as the scholastic atmosphere at our home reflected the importance of creative artistic traditions in intellectual development. So, my earliest memories are of attending dance recitals and music concerts that ultimately led me to be professionally trained in the classical dance form of Bharatnatyam at a very early age. A student of pure sciences in high school, I decided to integrate my inherent passion for the arts and my keen interest in literature, owing to my family background, with a career in law because of one defining incident of my life. A music company plagiarized many original music compositions of my Bharatnatyam guru and recorded the music CDs at the time without giving him credit or compensation for his original work. He lacked the resources to obtain an authoritative judicial decision at the time, and it brought to fore a jarring fact to me. For the country that houses Bollywood, the Indian film and television industry, where musicians, singers, and songwriters are household names, it was unnerving to me that artists do not always have the assurance of a comfortable living. Due to numerous loopholes in the law at the time, he passed without receiving due recognition. There persists a sharp disparity, not only between the glitterati of Bollywood and the hundreds of smaller artists in smaller cities who are out of the mainstream entertainment industry, but also within the entertainment industry. Javed Akhtar, the celebrated lyricist and legislator, in an impassioned speech before the parliament, spoke of Khemchand Prakash, a legendary composer whose wife was found begging at a railway station after his demise. His is not an uncommon fate, as several other illustrious and anonymous artists have been reduced to penury because of their inability to negotiate with music companies. He compared these artists to stalwarts like Paul McCartney, who wrote just 27 songs in his entire lifetime, yet generated upwards of $16 million in royalty fees. As also Elton John, who made over $20 million in royalty without composing a single song in the last few years. I was in consonance with Javed Akhtar's stance, as I believed that copyright protection has a socio-economic effect where the short end of the stick is more often than not borne by the marginalized. This experience fueled much of my academic interest in law school, both at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. I continuously made choices in my profession that reflected my passion for the arts. Throughout my career as a legal practitioner, creative writer, and now even as a sustainability advisor, I've come to appreciate the profound interconnectedness of the diverse disciplines that have shaped me throughout my life. This interconnectedness has enriched my multifaceted existence, allowing me to draw insights from one field to inform the other. Be it the discipline from my dance, the ability to think critically from my study of law, or the empathy and tenderness from the all encompassing presence of art in all its form in my life. I believe my ability to zoom out and see the bigger picture is rooted in my open minded and analytical approach. And I owe it all to this particular interconnectedness that I can now see when I look backwards and connect the dots, just as Steve Jobs said. Growing up in a multicultural household in Udaipur, I was fortunate to be exposed to a rich tapestry of cultures. My heart, however, was deeply rooted in Udaipur, the vibrant Mewar region of Rajasthan. I was captivated by the intricate Pichwai paintings that adorned the inner sanctums of the Srinathji temple in Nathdwara near Udaipur. As a child, I was drawn to the vivid colors, the ornate borders, and the enchanting imagery of Lord Krishna as Srinathji and his divine play. The lush landscapes, the trademark lotus, the graceful peacocks, and the serene cows seemed to transport me to another world. But it wasn't until later that I began to truly appreciate the profound spiritual and philosophical significance of these paintings. The Pichwai is more than just a beautiful artwork. It's a visual representation of the interconnectedness of all beings. Every element, from the smallest lotus to the vast cosmos, is a part of a harmonious whole. As I read about Einstein the other day, I came across an article that wrote about correspondence between Einstein's wife, Margot Einstein, with his first biographer, Carl Selig, where she mentions Einstein's thought process as he said, "Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better." This immediately took me straight to the imagery in a Pichwai painting that I so love. This concept is deeply ingrained in Indian culture and philosophy. The ancient Rigveda, one of the oldest religious texts in the world, speaks of the unity of all creation. If you look at a Pichwai closely, you'll be able to see the grandeur of nature and all living beings together. The intricate details of the Pichwai, in fact, invite us to contemplate the deeper meaning of life, as these paintings have become a testament to the truth of interconnectedness. Eventually, what we gain by immersing ourselves in art is a deeper understanding of our tiny place in the universe and our responsibility to care for all living beings. The more I think about this, the more I realize that interconnectedness and an overlap between all things is so undeniable an aspect in everything around us that the only way to not see it is to actively make a choice to not see it. We often hear the phrase, "we're all in this together." But do we really feel it? Do we live it? Let's take climate change, for example. It's not just an environmental issue, it's an economic issue, it's a social justice issue. It's now a legitimate health issue. The UN has declared that air pollution is the greatest environmental health risk of our time, a silent killer that claims more than 8.1 million lives per year. So, when the air quality index in Delhi hits an alarming 481 on a November morning, it doesn't discriminate. It stays the same for the farmer who can't grow crops in this condition, the city dweller who is facing the same extreme weather on the roads. The AQI remains the same for a displaced refugee as well as the president of a country. It's an undeniable fact that they're all connected by this one big global challenge. Or consider poverty. I'm sure you have come across phrases like money begets money, riches beget riches, and nothing succeeds like success. And I hope that by now we are all clear on what these proverbs clarify for us over and over again. It shouldn't come as a surprise to you when I say that poverty is actually never just about the lack of money. It's about access. Poverty, in a sense, is the lack of opportunity, of education, of healthcare. It's a long, winding story of systemic inequalities and historical injustices. The point is that everything is interconnected. Every action, every decision, every choice carries ripple effects, which are outwards and affect countless lives. This interconnectedness is the foundation of impact entrepreneurship as well. It's about recognizing that true change doesn't happen in silos. It requires a holistic approach, one that considers the social, environmental, cultural, and economic dimensions of every problem. When we approach challenges with this mindset, we begin to see solutions that are more innovative, more sustainable, and more equitable. We start to build a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. And when that shift starts happening, we see changes all around us. The C suite becomes more diverse, equal, and inclusive. There is equal pay for equal work. There are better facilities for the disabled and the elderly, more investments in renewable energy, heavy penalties on the use of fossil fuels, mental health support for one and all. And I am aware of how all of it might sound lofty and idealistic at this point. It is indeed a very big idea, and it might seem overwhelming to most of us. But the truth is that this is not everything everywhere all at once. We don't have to solve all the world's problems by ourselves in one day. We just have to do our part. We can start by making conscious choices in our daily lives. We begin where we are most comfortable. Let's say we begin by supporting businesses that prioritize sustainability and social impact. Or maybe even take a step back. Maybe we begin by Googling more about what sustainability means. And if my favorite brand, for example, is actually sustainable or is greenwashing in the name of being sustainable, we can also volunteer our time to causes that we care about. And we can use our voices to advocate for a more just and equitable future. And the best way to do that is to exercise our right to vote judiciously. The bottom line is simple. You have to want to see this interconnectedness to be able to begin. It's not just about the end goal. And I'm not the only one. Every podcast under the sun will tell you that it's all about the journey, the process, and the values that underpin that goal. This is how we create a world where everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances, has the opportunity to thrive. Just remember, even the smallest of actions can have a big impact. And to drive real change, we must begin to confront uncomfortable truths. You are probably thinking that you were anyway on board with this idea and doing your bit. But what's in here about that neighbor of yours who is living as if they're completely oblivious of the AQI inside their nasal cavity? So, how can we compel those people to acknowledge realities they'd rather ignore at all costs? I'm really not sure about the various ways in which people can make people do anything, especially when we are dealing with adults. It really all boils down to an individual's choice to see or not to see what's right in front of their eyes. But one answer might lie in the wisdom of Maya Angelou again, as she says, when you know better, you do better. So maybe the logical place to begin here would be to lead by example. Since you know better, you can demonstrate the desired behavior and attitudes in your own life. As an extension of this, you can also enter into mindful collaborations with like minded individuals and organizations that amplify your impact. I also think this, if at all there is ever an area where one can build peer pressure, it has to be this. So one can encourage social circles to support positive change and hold each other accountable. If you use social media, then make sure you're using it to reflect your values. And finally, I think it is essential that we cultivate a culture of empathy in everything we do. By sharing personal stories and highlighting the human impact of systemic issues, we can create a sense of connection and compassion. It is a proven fact that when people can relate to the experiences of others, they are more likely to be motivated to take action. And this intrinsic motivation empowers us to make conscious choices that align with our values ultimately. And once we all do that individually in our microcosms, we end up bringing about a change in the macrocosm. Much like the butterfly effect from chaos theory, that originally suggested small changes in initial conditions have the potential to lead to vastly different outcomes in the complex systems. Of course, this is not a scientific phenomena as it has its own share of practical limitations, but a powerful theory nonetheless to take affirmative action in terms of building a practice of accountability. One might very well dismiss this theory, my proposition of the interconnected world, and argue that at the quantum level, the behavior of particles is inherently probabilistic. Even with precise measurements, it is impossible to predict the exact outcome of a quantum event. So, by this logic, we are all, in fact, not connected at all. I agree that it's just a romantic thought that a seemingly minor decision, like choosing a different route to work, might lead to a missed opportunity or a chance encounter. But in reality, not every small decision will have a dramatic impact on one's life. I get that. Similarly, a small political event in a remote country can have global repercussions, but it is not guaranteed. And thank God for that. Many small events go unnoticed and have little to no significant impact on the world stage. But here's a thought in favor of the butterfly effect and my idea of interconnectedness in order to use it for our collective benefit. If there is no such thing as predictability, causality and correlation, and simple, straightforward systems, and if everything around us is unpredictable and chaotic, then why should we attach a harness while bungee jumping? Okay, maybe that is an oversimplification, but you get the point. Understanding the butterfly effect can give us a new perspective through which to view circumstances, businesses, markets, and so much more in our lives. While it's true that accidents can happen anywhere at any time, the fact of the matter is that statistics have shown that wearing a harness significantly reduces the risk of injury or death. If we acknowledge the fact that we are living in a complex, unpredictable system, then we must also acknowledge that some systems within our random chaotic whole are actually pretty simple and straightforward and do connect us all. And those are the elements we can actually exercise our control over. Take sustainability, for instance. This word is getting such a bad rep these days as it's being overused, misused, and often ill defined. But if we all think about it simply as a moral obligation to future generations to leave a habitable planet, then we will pay credence to sustainable practices and understand how crucial they are for the long term. Of course, you can counter that by saying that your individual actions are minuscule as compared to a large corporation that is backing and burning fossil fuel and responsible for the huge carbon emissions that are actually causing the real harm. And you will not be wrong in saying that. But if enough number of us want to change and understand that there are repercussions and ripple effects of all our actions, then we will be able to choose better. Better societies, better services, better facilities, better alternatives, better prices, better legislations, better subsidies, better governments, and even better technology, and hopefully better leaders. To tie the loose ends of our discussion together, I have come to believe that channeling some of Einstein's characteristics in our individual lives can be a powerful tool for personal growth as well as for societal impact. And I think it's not really a big ask. Just as Einstein questioned the fundamental assumptions of physics, we too can dare and challenge the status quo of our lives and our own limiting beliefs. By adopting an interdisciplinary perspective, we can break down silos and work at finding innovative solutions to global challenges in our individual spheres. Let's say you're a software engineer. Instead of just focusing on coding, you could tap into your interest in psychology to understand user behavior better, or explore topics in economics to optimize your company's resource allocation. Another thing that Einstein was well known for was his thought experiments and his ability to visualize abstract ideas and connect them to everyday experiences. I believe cultivating this intuitive understanding is extremely essential for all of us at this time, as it allows us to connect with others on a deeper level to draw some ethical boundaries. This is especially true for all of us working in tech today. By grounding our action in strong ethical principles, we can make choices that align with our values and build tech that contributes to a more just and sustainable future rather than an exploitative one. And finally, we can all benefit from embracing Einstein's collaborative spirit that encourages the exchange of ideas and taps into the collective wisdom of humanity to create a brighter collective future. So push yourself to pick up a book, to do a workshop, or simply have a meaningful conversation with a friend. Because embodying these three characteristics could very well be our first steps into straightening out and navigating the complexities of modern life with greater clarity, purpose, and impact. The concept of interconnectedness holds profound value for me as it helps me make sense of my life and also because it speaks to the fundamental nature of our reality. I hope some of it resonated with you as well. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. Your presence at the Lock, Stock and Barrel podcast is invaluable. You can like, share, subscribe to the LTB franchise on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Substack. I would love to hear about your experiences with interconnectedness and your thoughts about this episode in the comments section below. And you can also write to us on chaani.srivastav@gmail.com and share your views. Until next week, let's keep this conversation going.